All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I'm Justin, joined by Tanner and Kaylin today. It is January 30th, and we've got a new head coach.
We do. It's been a while since we've been on the show. I think we've all had a bender for the last 22 days.
A lot of things have changed since we last talked. The last time we talked, Jim Harbaugh was the football coach. We were national champs. The Lions were still in the playoffs. A lot of things have changed. We were like, I don't know, 72 hours ago in football Valhalla. And then all of a sudden, like, everything changes. And here we are. I hate the like Twitter meltdown that where we're at. I still think we're in decent shape, but where are your guys' heads in terms of where Michigan football is at right now?
Well, real quick, Kaylin, I'm going to let you speak to it first. But one thing hasn't changed, Justin, and that's the fact that Ohio State has still not tweeted the final score.
That's a fact.
It's almost two. That's been more than 2 months. The basketball team tweeted the final score when they lost in Ann Arbor. So what's the deal?
They must not. Their social media teams must not talk. There must be some miscommunication there.
Sometimes that happens in the secondary too, but that's okay.
That's true. That's true.
That's wild. Have they really not tweeted the score?
No, then it just never did. They just immediately started like hyping up Marvin Harrison going to New York for the Heisman to finish third or whatever he did. So
I thought I saw someone put it out there, but maybe that was just some bait, some mean material. I don't know.
I think it was some meme material. I saw that too. They did post the score of their next game, which they only scored 3 points in, though. So that was cool.
Block M teams are tough for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah.
But Kaylin, where's your head at?
Honestly, I feel good. Like, you know what? Jim came, he saw, he conquered, he's moved on, and he's kind of a setup guy. He's always been a setup guy, right? Like, look at the 49ers, look at Stanford, like Stanford especially, right? Like the David Shaw era was pretty incredible for them. A lot of 10-win seasons right after Jim Harbaugh. So, I mean, I feel like he sets us up in a lot of ways to continue to be great. Not great in terms of taking some of those key pieces, but, you know, that happens. So I feel pretty good, honestly.
I mean, here's the thing. If you think that Jim Harbaugh, the most competitive person on planet Earth, was not going to take guys from this program that were going to help him win a Super Bowl, I think you're crazy. Like, what, you know, the business of college football in the NFL, it is very it's cold, you know, sometimes where he's got to make a decision. Yeah, he still may love Michigan. I truly believe he does. I think he loved it here. He's doing what he was hired to do. He was hired by the Chargers to build a staff that can win a Super Bowl. What does he think is the best situation for that? Jesse Minter, Ben Herbert, and I believe Jay Harbaugh, which I don't think has been addressed yet, but I believe it will happen. So if you thought that he was going to be like nice to Michigan and like leave those guys for Sherrone and then go like leave himself like the scraps or something and he'll figure out on his own, like, you don't know who Jim Harbaugh is, I think, if you think that was going to be the case.
I've had some tweets. I told Kaylin this pre-show while you were on the phone. I was a little pissy, especially Monday morning coming off the Lions collapse in the NFC Championship game. And I wake up and I check the message boards because I'm a degenerate and that's what I do. And I see that there was a tearful goodbye at the Monday morning workout. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I put out a tweet and some people were like saying the same thing as you, Justin. I get it. I just don't think a strength coach in the NFL is nearly as impactful as it is in college football, where you have 18 to 22, depending on your COVID year, 24-year-old guys, where they're still becoming, young men into men. That one was just weird to me. And I know the Chargers are paying him a boatload of money to go live in Orange County, which doesn't suck as someone who's been in Orange County. But like that one, just not mad at Harbaugh, just like, come on, man. Like that's the one guy that I was really hoping Michigan was able to retain. I knew Minter was going to the NFL. That was no doubt. So him going to the Chargers doesn't really impact me or my thoughts on Harbaugh or anything. But yeah, the Ben Herbert one, I still just, I told Kaylin, I read that I think in the new CBA for the NFL, they're looking to make a push for more OTAs and more team activities in the NFL. But like, is Ben Herbert going to be doing 6 a.m. rah lift sessions? Like, I don't really think so. That's the one where it's like, how much of an impact is that? Why not let him stay at Michigan? I know Jim Harbaugh is going to take a guy that he thinks can win. But like when he said, I want the Chargers to be Michigan West, I didn't think he was going to just completely start poaching everybody. I know he's trying to get Mike Elston, which Elston's a Michigan grad. I think it seems like he wants to stay in Ann Arbor, has some younger kids, but yeah, I don't know, man. I've just been agitated, but I understand it. It's just that I'm a Michigan fan. I'm not a Jim Harbaugh fan, right? Like I love Jim Harbaugh, but no one man is bigger than the team, right? And it's like, I want the continued success of Michigan. Jim Harbaugh doesn't necessarily worry about that now. So our wants are different, right? He wants to win in the NFL. I want Michigan to continue to stay competitive and to continue to win Big Ten championships. So that's why I was, I'll say the word pissy. Like I was just agitated. I was like, Jim, come on, man. Just let us have him. So I get what you're saying too, but I think that's just the fan psychology within me that it's like, I want Ben Herbert to be here. But I will say this, the new strength coach, I didn't realize he's the guy in the 2021 tunnel saying about that shit. That's my guy, which also he's 28 years old. He sounds like a 45-year-old drill instructor. Yes. You got to have that voice to be a strength coach, right?
I do love his vibe already. And he's been with Herb this whole time. You know, I think, what's funny to me though is normally like if it wasn't Herb who has been like anointed as this guy that changed the culture, nobody would bat an eye at the strength coach leaving. You know what I mean? Like it's just funny to me, like, out of all the people, we keep our OC essentially. Obviously, he's the head coach now. Keep Grant Newsome. We're going to keep a lot of the pieces. Normally in football, the fan base wouldn't completely melt down over the strength coach leaving. So I know that he was a big piece of the culture. He kept guys in line. You saw a lot of the guys posting on Instagram sad about him leaving. Like that was tough. I don't think he's irreplaceable. You know what I mean? Like I think it's been next man up for a long time, right? It was when Aiden Hutchinson left in 2021 after at the time the best season in history in a long time, right? The first time we had beaten Ohio State in a long time. I think all of us were like, how do you replace Aiden Hutchinson? How do you possibly do it? Well, they figured out the next year, and then they didn't replace him with Aiden, but they figured it out. They got guys to step up and be leaders. They did the same thing with Mike McDonald. They've done the same thing with a lot of guys over the past 3 years that have turned out. It's going to be okay. Like I don't want to be the guy that's like always overly positive, but like to melt down and be like, it'll never be the same again. Yeah, we might have a little setback. That's what happens when your like legendary coach leaves, but we're going to be all right.
Right. I mean, and I'll just miss, that pan to the sideline and you just see him like mean mugging, never smiling. I don't think that man's ever smiled in his life.
I don't think he smiled at the parade. I saw him. I was like, I'm intimidated and we're at a celebratory event. Like I was kind of scared. Like just looking at him. So
yeah, hopefully our new guy shaves his head or something and
get the goatee going. Yeah, I mean he's jacked, right? Like the photos I've seen. Like obviously you got to be jacked. You got to have a raspy voice and you got to be bald. That's just
you know what I want from him too. That Herbert did not do is like dress weird or have like a funny mustache or like tight sleeves or something. Like I think we need some of that vibe coming. Herb was too like he would never do something funny, right? But I think we need a little bit of quirkiness to bring back.
Right, the fact that he was so like uptight was kind of funny.
Exactly. That was his quirkiness. Was like you couldn't fuck with him.
I also looked at his Twitter and like he just hasn't tweeted. Like he has it as his Michigan photo and strength, the director of strength and conditioning at the University of Michigan in his bio, but he hadn't tweeted since before he joined Michigan, which is like the funniest part. Like it's all updated, but he hasn't tweeted in like 7 years. Ben Herbert, that is. So I don't know what type of social presence your strength and conditioning coach needs online, but maybe we can get some improvements there.
If he was going to have a social media presence, he should have just tweeted out his like mugshot every day.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just like mad Ben Herbert. He wakes up at I'm sure he wakes up at like 3 a.m. because that's what they do, I assume. And it's just like he wakes up, tweets out like mad Ben Herbert, and then goes about his day. Like that's what it should be every day. Yeah. Just like mad Ben Herbert is here to train guys.
Just every morning, it's just an angry selfie and then his like squat numbers or something.
Yeah.
Do you think that guy's ever added any creamer to his coffee? I feel like that's just a black coffee guy in the morning.
Does he even put it through the coffee machine, or does he just chew on ground?
Yeah, just snorts the ground.
Fat. He's like Harbaugh's got his tobacco, and then Ben Herbert just has coffee, just like beans in his lip. Yeah,
I love that. Also, real quick though, I mean, it will be nice to have a head coach with a social media presence. I do like that.
There's another nice thing that I want to say, and I'm going to preface this by saying I love Jim Harbaugh, and like I was listening to the MGO blog podcast. They did it's 4 hours. And so every time I drive, I'm like working my way through it. But like just remembering the funny, weird Jim Harbaugh moments, the best Jim Harbaugh moments, man, I'm going to miss him being on the sidelines so much. Really just going to miss everything about Jim Harbaugh. Like they were talking about like how I don't know, because I don't own a home, so I don't have to go to Home Depot as much as maybe some other folks do, but like he was a mainstay at the Home Depot in Ann Arbor. I don't know if he's not a Lowe's guy. I didn't hear anything about that, but like you just see him at Home Depot looking for random pieces of equipment or like storage for his tools. So I'm going to dearly miss Jim Harbaugh, but it's really going to be nice to not worry about where your head coach's head is at when it comes from like January to February. That's going to be a nice change of pace. I am looking forward to that with Sherrone Moore. Sherrone is 37. Like this is a massive job. This is a job that if you're successful at, you can be here as long as he wants. Like it is really nice to not worry about opening Twitter or something and like seeing the next rumor about which NFL team is out there. You know what I mean? Like that was the last 3 years. That was the downside, which mild annoyance for an Addy, but like it wasn't fun,
Yeah, I mean it was tough. Even before I was thinking about it. It happened every offseason, even pre-COVID. Like literally. Even when he wasn't looking or things. It was always a thing. It was never not a thing.
And I felt like even too, Justin, is Albert Breer, who's a big Ohio State fan.
He's a huge Ohio State guy. And he immediately, you want to know what annoyed me the most? Immediately he's with the Chargers and Albert Breer is praising him. I'm like, Albert, you cannot
tweeted that
be
today.
doing this.
I tweeted that today.
I did. I liked it.
Ryan Leaf quote tweeted me. He's like, that's ESPN's, business model.
I love it.
All right.
That's awesome.
Hey, shout out Ryan Leaf for the Natty in 97. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know, man. It's interesting. By the way, I want to throw this one out there. Have you guys ever seen the movie, The Program, college football movie? It's from the 90s. So Albert Breer tweets, because Albert Breer went to Ohio State.
Program.
The Program. Yes.
Program.
And it's funny. My wife and I started watching the new NASCAR docuseries. She works for NASCAR, and they were talking about William Byron, who's a driver, and Rick Hendricks is like William. So William is the NASCAR version of college football's Program. I just want to
wait. Is that the full speed one?
Yeah, it's actually very good so far. We watched one episode, but so in that movie, Albert Breer tweets out a clip of this linebacker who's psychotic and like it's a very funny movie. But he's like talking about he's in film. He's like just gonna kill an MF or whatever. But the best part about that movie is that Albert Breer tweeted that out. And in that movie, the fictional program ESU that it's based on loses to Michigan on a last-second interception. So I just want to throw that out there. Albert Breer is a massive dork. So is Pete Thamel. All those guys are Ryan Day's mouthpiece. They were Urban Meyer's mouthpiece before that. And so those are the guys that are always planning those stories out there. I'm excited to see what they come up with now for Sherrone, who definitely seems like a college lifer. I mean, I don't think he's ever coached in the NFL. So it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with, what type of spin cycle we're going to be in next offseason. But I look forward to their efforts.
Yeah, it'll be – well, the whole thing's going to be interesting does the NCAA thing just kind of quietly go away now because Jim Harbaugh is gone?
Give them a show cause, right? They can say they did something.
It will be really interesting to see how that plays out because, that was all media driven, wasn't it? Like there was a new media leak every day, and that was why it was in the news. It wasn't because there was a new jurisdiction every single day. So will the NCAA, will Pete Thamel continue tweeting it out? I have no idea. But it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. I noticed, I don't know if you guys noticed, Jim Harbaugh, when he was on the set for the Ravens playoff game, he was talking like he was the most free man alive, like just free flowing. The shackles were off. Like I have not heard him speak like that, honestly, since he's been at Michigan, at least in the early days. And so it was just like two different people is what I saw. And it felt like he was literally freed from the NCAA.
Yeah, I didn't really hear the clip. I have to go back and listen to it to really absorb it. But I definitely believe it, right? Because like you said, the NCAA was coming after him. It felt like every day. Like, when was that? In November? Like, literally every day there was a new thing coming out. I was like, this I can't wait for the Netflix series. But
yeah, dude, that's the thing that I'm interested in as well. It's funny, like we have another Tennessee scandal, which I don't know where the NCAA is going to be able to have jurisdiction on. It feels like an antitrust issue, like it has been, and they got smoked in the Supreme Court, which prompted the NIL change. So I don't know.
Like that's the new playbook, is to totally push back against the NCAA.
Just sue them.
Yeah.
Why not? You have especially if your attorney general in your state is an alum, right? I believe Tennessee, that's the situation for them, and that's I believe they sued the NCAA with the Jeremy Pruitt stuff, and now it's the 5-star quarterback from last year's class, Nico. I'm not going to be able to pronounce his last name because I don't know it. It's not in front of me, but he's at the center of this investigation. It's interesting though, guys. I haven't seen any leaks from Pete Thamel. I don't know. He's the greatest journalist of all time when it comes to Michigan made-up scandals, but when it's other schools, he's just nowhere to be found. I don't know if
he must be on vacation. Maybe he took a little PTO or something. You think?
Yeah, maybe he's still at Michigan Stadium. He couldn't stand to be at the set of College Game Day. Oh my God!
Wow,
there he is.
What's going on
with the Rose Bowl hat?
Yeah, get the Rose Bowl hat on.
It's beautiful.
Oh, I'm dialed.
It's very visual podcast right now.
There you go.
I got my State and Lib hat on.
Ooh,
you guys are only 18 minutes in. All right.
The Libs at State and Lib
on my computer.
West Hollywood store, bro. That's such an inside joke that no one's gonna get.
Nobody's gonna get that.
But yeah, Pete Thamel, dork, just
a lot of dorks out there. A lot of dorks out there. Okay, I want to get to positive stuff. And I want to talk about Sherrone Moore.
Let's do it.
Before the Ben Herbert news, 48 hours previous to that, the Michigan Twitter was going crazy about Sherrone Moore, pumped, right? And then Ben Herbert leaves, and it's like it literally was like a complete, flip. So I want to go back to where we were with the excitement about Sherrone Moore. Everyone thought that he was going to be the guy, right? Like it was pretty obvious what he did last year earned him to be the head coach of Michigan. I think that listen, do I think we're going to be national title contenders right away? I'm not sure on that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we're going to run it back. I don't even know, even if he's the greatest coach alive, I'm not sure if we have the team for that, simply because we lose 15 guys to the NFL draft, right? And so I'm not saying that, but I do think that there is not really a better young coach in college football right now than Sherrone Moore, right? I feel that every guy is bought in with the program. They love him. They're down with it. He gets the Michigan culture. I go back to his quote from the parade where he's like, I feel like I went to college here. Like, I hope that you guys consider me a Michigan man. Like, that is all you want to hear, right? Like, he is as close to a Michigan man as you can get right now. And I think if you're looking for a young African-American guy that wants to smash, like, give it. That's all I want. I want big offensive linemen. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, our recruiting class is going to be 5-star offensive linemen, and we're just going to run it down people's throat forever and ever. Like, yes, absolutely. Give me that all day long.
Yeah.
There's a lot of innuendo in there, but yes.
I want to smash all day long.
Hey, you know, you got to have some fun with it. I was really excited to finally get this done. Was hoping that it would have been announced immediately to keep just continuity, momentum, all those sorts of things. But I'm really excited for the Sherrone Moore era. You know, he's 37 years old. He was the offensive coordinator of the national championship Michigan Wolverines that went 15-0 in 2023, if you didn't know about it.
I heard about that,
he was, well, let's discuss this now because it's going to get brought up, and these people are absolute morons with no critical thinking ability whatsoever. But all of the Ohio State fans that are now claiming that Sherrone Moore was born on third base. First of all, that's not the insult. The insult is that you think you hit a triple, right? That's the insult. But secondly,
exactly,
you're going to tell me a guy who's been at Michigan since, 2017? Late 2017, early 2018, right around that 8-5 season. He comes in as the tight ends coach. His tight ends are awesome. Zach Gentry was a quarterback coming out of high school. He converts to tight end. He may still be in the NFL. I'm not sure. I think Sherrone had a lot to do with that. I'm actually had a buddy that I camped with at the Michigan football camp when I was in high school who played for Sherrone at Central Michigan and just said he was, just a fantastic football coach, just a great leader. And so I was always a big fan of Sherrone when he came in. So when I think back to 2018, 2019, Sherrone Moore after 2020 gets the offensive line coaching job. What immediately becomes the best position group on the team? Offensive line. For 2 years in a row, the nation's best offensive line. Joe Moore Award winning twice, right? And they're just mauling dudes. And they're going to sit here and tell me that this guy was born on third base? No, that's just BS. Sherrone Moore is a hell of a football coach. It's his first head coaching job full-time, right? Like, obviously, we know what he did in November on that 3-game run where he beat 2 top 10 teams, which is more than some coaches of the Big Ten have in their entire careers. We don't have to talk about that right now. I really like Sherrone Moore. He's already being aggressive with who he's looking to hire. I don't know. Kaylin and I were talking about this. Just some of you've seen this, but I believe they're trying to hire their director of recruiting from Notre Dame, who's boys with Marcus Freeman. So they're trying to make big splashes. I like who I've heard. I think Kevin Koger's out there, who's funny enough with the charges of the tight end coach. Played at Michigan from Toledo. He's, there's conversations there. Like, he's swinging for the fences on this coaching staff and on this recruiting personnel staff. Like, I'm really excited for what Sherrone's going to do. I think he's going to continue that trend that Harbaugh had of hiring elite coaches, leverage his network with the Harbaughs, their coaching tree to go find the best guys for the job. I think he's trying to get another Ravens guy to coach linebackers and be co-DC. Like, I really like what he's got going on right now. And so I love it, man. I'm stoked for Sherrone. He's a great leader. He's going to be a great face of the program. And again, he's only 37. I think the sky's the limit for him at Michigan.
I'm with you 100%. Well,
definitely have full confidence in Sherrone's ability to coach. I think I'm more interested in what happens off the field, right? Like, who are the coaches that he hires? How does he recruit? I already think he's a really good recruiter, but how does he leverage NIL? Some of those things. That's what I'm really interested in seeing, because I think he's young and excited and energetic, and he's ready to take advantage of some of those things I think Coach Harbaugh was more reluctant to get involved in. So I think that could have a huge positive impact on this team.
Totally.
We now welcome Jack to the show. Appreciate you for joining us. It's nice to see your face.
It's beautiful.
Fellas,
how's that
you want to
beard,
see
by
my
the
new
way?
mic setup? Thanks, dude. Beard's finally coming back. Kaylin was like, not this Kaylin, girlfriend Kaylin, said, she's like, you look ugly as shit without a beard. So I was like, all right, I'll grow it back.
That'll get
That's
you
my
going.
new mic setup.
Right.
It's kind of cool.
That's all you needed.
Ooh.
It is. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, it is nice that it covers most of your face. That's awesome.
I'm really just going for the below my
the
neck,
double chin.
the
Yeah,
double
that's smart.
chin. That's the
smart.
best part.
That's smart.
We need to get your webcam mounted in addition to your microphone.
I know. I just use my laptop one. I'm not as cool as you, T-Dog.
Kind
He's a Twitch streamer. He's a Twitch
like
streamer.
Bruce
I haven't
Almighty
streamed on
angle.
Twitch in like 3 years, but maybe we'll bring it back. Maybe we'll get something going. You know, a little Blue by 90 action, which I've been talking about for like a year and haven't done it yet. So I appreciate that. Yeah. Would you guys subscribe to my Twitch?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. So I'll do it.
All right,
sexual?
Cool. Would you subscribe to other things? Maybe. Who's to say? I just wanted to be known that I want to share this story. We had beer from the national championships that sat on our dining room table for 3 weeks, and then I put it out in the group chat. I was like, "Does anybody want this?" And Jack came by and grabbed it. So appreciate that, Jack, because Claudia was getting on me about that.
Thanks, brother.
It was perfectly good beer. What was I supposed to do? Throw it away? You know?
Yeah, stocked my fridge. I was able to drink and cry for the Lions game. It was great.
It is. I thought you were doing dry January.
Oh, dude, I lost that like January 2nd. I realized we haven't done a pod in a while.
That's why I lost that. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a massive failure.
I mean, it was a good effort. 2 days. That's pretty good.
I mean, at least when you fail, you win, right?
Yeah. Yeah, effort was there.
I mean, you play in the Natty, you play in the Rose Bowl, you know, January 1st.
I mean, it was
like you're doomed. And the Lions are in the playoff. What are you supposed to do?
We were. I mean, it was through all of January that we had real football on. It's tough to be us. People don't understand how hard it is to be us.
Yeah, there's no other sports on either. Like, you know, the Red Wings are on, but other than that, there's no other sports. So we had to really indulge in January with the football teams that we root for. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Also, anytime that like you ever, let's say things aren't going well for us and you get depressed, Tanner, you literally just have to look at what your hat says that we're national champions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I've been on work meetings. I also have like 5 Natty hats now because I just keep buying them like at Emden or like a Dick's here in Ann Arbor. But like somebody, I was on a meeting. They're like, oh yeah, so they were sarcastically, right? Like, so sorry about Harbaugh, and I was like, oh yeah, no, it's okay. And I just threw on one of these hats that I have. I was like, yeah, it's so tough right now. I'm just going through.
Yeah, I feel
this will hold me over. I mean, you know, we can finally retire. I mean, I'll still wear this, but we can retire this one. And now we have the 2023 hat.
Well, you hang that one in the rafters, and then you wear your current one out. That's how it goes.
Yeah. So you know, some teams haven't won a Natty in the last 3 weeks. Our team has.
Yeah. Sorry that. I'm still like picking confetti out of my hair, honestly. So
I love when people like, and I know it's just people on the internet being trolls, but like I do love when rival fans of Michigan's are like, oh well, when was the last time you won one before then? It's like, I don't care, dude. It happened 3 weeks ago. Are we already saying that this is in the past? Like, there's been no college football games played since. So what are we even talking about here?
Somebody screenshot that right there.
That's incredible.
This is my dinner.
Jack just has his whole burger. He looked like a dog that like actually got
out. Is that a McDouble?
He looked like a dog that stole that off the kitchen counter with an entire burger in his mouth.
Yeah, if anyone's listening on Spotify, which first of all, I'm sorry. But secondly, he's just eating McDouble into the camera.
It does sound good.
And now a piece of lettuce or onion is just falling out. So it's great.
So cool.
This is a very high quality podcast that we put on here at Blue by 90.
This is. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're gonna be all right. I think that it's not gonna be smooth sailing. Can we just address that? Like, I think I need to address the fact that what happened in the last 3 years does not happen that often. And I feel like for some reason, even with all the shit that every one of us Michigan fans went through from the year 2006 and 7 to 2020, like even through all that, we still somehow became like too good for all of this in just 3 years. And it was like, we are taking it for granted. We think we'll never lose again, right? Like all this stuff. I'm like, what? I get it. That's what makes sports great is you like clinging on to stuff and all that. But like, can we be real for a second and think like, you know what? You're right. Maybe we aren't going to go 15-0 every single year. Can we start there?
I get it, but I also think there's no reason that Michigan can't be a playoff Big Ten championship type of team every single year, right? Like you're not going to do it every year, but I think that you at Michigan should be able to.
Here's my rebuttal. Name outside of Ohio State going from Tressel to Urban Meyer, which they also had a 6-6 year in between that. Just a heads up.
I know.
Name a single other program in college football history that has had a coaching transition and not like had at least like a little setback.
Georgia, Clemson.
Georgia. Yeah. Going from Mark Richt to Kirby Smart.
Are you talking about a team that's like at the upper echelon and then maintaining?
Yes.
Okay. Those are because those were like, coach was fired and then hired.
Right.
What about like LSU, Saban to Les Miles?
Yeah, Saban and Miles. Yeah, they won within like 4 years of each other. They won a natty.
Yeah.
But still, isn't there a dip there? And there's a dip.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, for sure. There can be a dip, but I think I'm speaking more long term. I'm not expecting Michigan to win the national championship next year.
Well, I think that's my point. That's my point is like you have to understand that it's not going to continue this right away. There's going to be there has to be a little bit of like, all right, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. Okay, we've got to figure it out again. Right? Like that's just what happens. And especially in the year 2024 with the transfer portal. Like things program can flip like that in literal weeks. A program can flip. And so it can flip for the worse. And then literally in the spring and when the portal opens again, it can flip for the better. You know what I mean? So that's my pitch to Michigan fans is stay on the train. It's going to be all right. Yes, there will be setbacks. There will be tough days probably. I'd be shocked if we go 15-0 this year. I'd be shocked. We might be the last team to ever go 15-0 ever again, legitimately. So I just don't want – I hate the Twitter meltdown. I can't stand the meltdown of like, oh, my God, the world is falling. Everything's falling apart just because we lost our strength and conditioning coach. I love Ben Herbert, but like, let's get a fucking grip for a second.
Oh, these guys lose internet. They're both frozen.
They're in the same house in different rooms.
Oh God, it's over. No, I'm with you though, man. Like, I want to. Obviously, I want continued success for Michigan, but I also understand how hard it is to do what Michigan just did the last 3 seasons, right? And so I'm not expecting another undefeated national championship season. But I do think, and I think when I said there's no reason that Michigan shouldn't be able to continuously compete for national championships for the playoffs for the Big Ten championship, I think it's more so about the resources allocated to the football program to make sure that they're getting the best coaches, getting the best support staff, getting the best players, and making sure that what happened from 2008 to 2014 doesn't happen again, and we just lost both these guys.
It's just us.
So that's where I'm at, I guess. Man.
No, I'm with you on the long term, 100%. Where I think that there's like, I'll be honest. Back in like 2018, something like that, I was probably like, you know what, it's okay. Mediocrity is fine because I think I had I never in a million years at that point thought I couldn't even comprehend beating Ohio State. So I could never comprehend winning a national title, right? And so I was trying for my own mental health to be like, you know what? Going 10-2 is all right. That's pretty good. That's better than most everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm with you now. Like now that we've seen it done. And now I'm on the train of like, we shouldn't settle for mediocrity, but I think you have to trust the process of maybe going through some of that to get to the top. We went through it for 7 years to get to the top under Jim Harbaugh. I'm hoping, God willing, it doesn't take that long under Sherrone Moore, but there might be a little bit of setback before we get back to competing for a national championship under Sherrone Moore.
No, absolutely. And I think, too, you look at Oklahoma from Bob Stoops. Now this is different, right? Because Bob Stoops retires. The portal, I don't think the portal's a thing at that point when he took over for Stoops. But Lincoln Riley turned out to be he hasn't won a national championship, but I mean that run that they went on when he first started, right? So it's almost like you hope that there's some similarities. Now, look, I honestly at this point I think I would take Sherrone over Lincoln Riley. But my point is that if you have that continuity, you can expand upon the success that your predecessor had, right? So that's where I'm hopeful with Sherrone coming in with the culture that's already established. The boys are back.
We're back,
Wi-Fi
baby.
cut out. Need to make a phone call, very angry phone call to customer support on that one.
Oh, I will.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think you make a good point though. Even Lincoln Riley, who had an incredible run at Oklahoma, doesn't win a national title.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm just saying this shit doesn't happen very often, man. And so I still I'm not saying I hope for this to happen or this is going to happen, but we may look back in 5 years and things aren't going that well. And we're like, you know what? That fucking natty run though was sick. And I still would take that over anything that's happening.
100%.
I'm curious to hear what you guys' thoughts are on Sherrone calling plays. I'm a firm believer that your head coach should not be the offensive play caller.
I'm with you.
I'm with you
100%. I'm riding with Kirk. I think Kirk Campbell will call plays, in my opinion. I think there are a lot of guys on the team right now that want Kirk to call the plays anyways. I love
the
Sherrone.
wide receivers.
Exactly. That's pretty much it. The QBs and the wide receivers. Sherrone calls and I love his strategy of smash. But I think Kirk will take that into effect, but also get things going a little bit more. I think, to me, am I wrong? Did Ryan Day take back over play calling duties now?
No, they
brought in Bill O'Brien.
Oh, you're right. That was dumb.
Who, by the way, I want to throw this out there. Bill O'Brien was with Nick Saban and Bill Belichick for 8 or 9 years and never won a championship with either.
That might be
that stat is insane.
Stat. How is that possible?
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Great hire.
Right, go ahead.
I love the hire.
Go ahead, Kalen. No, go ahead with the play calling, Kalen.
No, I don't know who's going to call the plays. I just don't want Sherrone to do it. I love him when he is OC, but as a head coach, I'm just a very firm believer that nobody can do it. Or maybe not nobody, very, very few, right? Maybe Lincoln Riley is the one I can think of off the top of my head. But even really good play callers get an OC and download their philosophy and let him call plays.
I obviously don't know a lot about football, but why can't he be head coach and call plays?
You have a lot of responsibilities that it's a lot on someone's plate to do head coaching responsibilities, to make all the decisions on whether to kick a field goal or to go for a fourth down, to communicate with your defensive coordinator, special teams, office coordinator, all that sorts of stuff. There's so much that a head coach has to do that you don't really see, that it sometimes is overwhelming to have to do both. But he did do it well when he was impromptu head coach for 3 games. So
yeah, but he also didn't have to be the head coach for 6 days a week.
Absolutely. The one thing though is I really hope that with Sherrone, dude, you think about the Alabama game, how many different concepts they pulled out, the passes to Corum out of the backfield, they never really did that by design, maybe on scramble drills or as a check down to Corum, but a touchdown and then the 4th and 2. I think Sherrone was in his bag. Even against Penn State, when we were a little frustrated, just running the ball consistently over and over and over again through Mother Effer's face, as Beast Mode would say. He had some really cool stuff in that game that came out with Penn State being really aggressive. So I love his game plan. I love, I hope a lot of that Harbaugh stuff rubbed off on his philosophy as a play caller and as a play designer and a game plan guy. But yeah, I certainly think you need to bring in somebody to be the primary play caller. And I'm sure it'll be just like Jim before, where there's like communication going on between coaches of like, hey, what should we do here? I've got an idea, you've got an idea, but it's ultimately going to be up to one person to make sure you don't have when it was like Harbaugh, Drevno, Pep Hamilton, and like somebody else randomly
Can't
talking
have too
about
many
it.
cooks in the kitchen.
Exactly.
Bring back Pep.
Said literally nobody ever, bro. Like what?
Bring him back, baby.
Hottest take of all time.
Hey, Pep Hamilton had one of the greatest, alongside Jim Harbaugh, game plans of all time, and their quarterback was John O'Corn. John O'Corn, if you're listening, I love you, man.
Hey.
But
Hey,
Yeah,
it's
people
tough.
are talking about it.
It's tough.
It's tough.
I was a big John O'Corn guy.
John Corn. It's a great video. We'll have to send in the group chat.
Oh yeah,
Perfect. Another inside joke that we give our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
absolutely. No, I mean, I think we'll see what comes in the next. I think the biggest thing that Sherrone can do right now is make a few big splash hires, as you said, Tanner, and let's like get some steam rolling. I do think, the recruiting trail is going to be, in my opinion, pretty crazy. I think it's going to be a big benefit from Sherrone. He's going to be very involved. He's going to be very present on social media and in the media. I mean, Jim Harbaugh came out and talked to the media once a week during the season, and then never outside of that, right? He did exactly what he needed to do. And so I think that it'll be different where it'll be more like early days Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, where Harbaugh was fun doing weird shit with Migos and that. And you don't want, I don't want it to become too flashy, but I want some of that to come back where it's guys have fun to come here. I think we keep the culture going, and people want to be at Michigan. I think you'll see in the next 3 months some really good things going into spring ball.
And I think too, what you'll see is maybe Sherrone playing the politics game a little bit more than Jim did, right? With the networks, with access, right? Playing ball, because I think a lot of the vitriol over the last, 3-4 months, however long it's been since the thing broke in October of 2023, is that Jim Harbaugh doesn't give access to guys at 24/7 and to guys at ESPN and On3 and Fox and whatever network.
Yeah.
I think Sherrone may, be a little bit more diplomatic in that regard, play that game a little bit more, be more willing to open things up to get more favorable coverage, right? Why does the media love James Franklin? It's not because he's a great football coach. It's because he gives them access. They get to know things about Penn State's program. They get to come and see practice. They get to do those sorts of things. That's why Josh Pate loves him from 247, right? So I think Sherrone, Michigan's always going to get hate, but maybe Sherrone helps change that. And, not to say what Jim did was right or wrong as far as how he treated media and gave access and stuff, but maybe things will be a little bit more favorable to Michigan in the spotlight than they have been in the past. I think, as we talked about, Harbaugh's been a big reason as to why there's been so much, negativity spewed towards the program in the midst of their greatest run in program history.
Yeah.
Program.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is kind of funny. There couldn't be two more polar opposite human beings in the world than Jim Harbaugh and Sherrone Moore, just in life. I think they have a lot of similar coaching philosophies, but they don't have life. They're just very different people. So it's interesting to go from yeah, we're going to keep things rolling. We don't want continuity with Sherrone, but they're completely polar opposite people. So I do think some different things will happen for sure. Like you said, Tanner, and yeah, it'll be, I'm excited. I'm excited, man. I think that, obviously you're going to have some shit go down, just setbacks, or it's going to be learning curves or whatever. But ultimately we're going to be in a really good spot here. So last thing I want to say too, I appreciate the hell out of Jim Harbaugh for everything he did for Michigan. I mean, I put out a poll on Twitter of, are you rooting for Jim Harbaugh at the Chargers? And thankfully it was at least 75-25. I don't know who the people that are the 25 are either super salty about him leaving or like Raiders fans or something. But I mean, I said it before, but what just happened does not happen. It does not happen very often. And you have to realize that and be thankful for Jim Harbaugh. And, even though it sucks that it was like we're at the top and immediately he leaves, I still think that like you're going to look back on this in 10 years and be like, shit, man, Jim did it. Jim brought us there, man.
Does Harbaugh go to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s pro day with a Michigan hat on?
Probably
that
not.
Would be elite.
That would be electric, though. Jesse Minter should. I don't know why Jesse Minter would be there, but Jesse Minter could be there to wave goodbye when Marvin Harrison Jr. is done with his pro day.
I was gonna say with Harbaugh to the Chargers, I hope he kills the Chiefs dynasty.
Oh, if he does that, if he like conquers Ohio State, conquers Alabama, and then conquers the Chiefs dynasty, especially if they still have Taylor Swift at the time.
Yeah,
I mean, he's it. He's conquered it all.
Yeah.
I mean,
ultimate villain.
What Jim did is something that his mentor, as great as he was never able to do at Michigan. It's something that, as much crap as I hate that we get about Michigan and Nebraska splitting a title, Jim Harbaugh did something with this, and this team did something that no Michigan team has done since 1948, and that's win an outright national championship that's not split, that's not claimed by somebody else. Michigan would have beat Nebraska in 97. Let me just get that straight. But, this is something super historic in Michigan football history, and so Jim Harbaugh is the greatest coach in Michigan football history. I'm just going to go out and say that. I know Fielding Yost was, unbelievable in 1900, but, I mean, come on. This is a completely different era. This is every year in college football, it gets harder to win, in my opinion, with every single change that happens off the field. So I think with what Jim Harbaugh has done, 3 Big Ten championships, a Rose Bowl victory, a national championship, should have made the playoffs in 2016. Who knows what would have happened if they get into that playoff? But, I think he has cemented himself as the greatest football coach in the University of Michigan's history. And we got to witness it, man. How many games did we all go to the last 3 years, man? I mean, the last 2, I went to 17, and then I went to 2 in 21. But I got to see, almost half these games in person, and I got to enjoy Blake Corum and JJ McCarthy and Chris Jenkins and Mike Stamers. So all these guys that Jim Harbaugh helped bring to Michigan, and it was not just Jim; it was a collective effort. But it's just awesome to look back on and be able to kind of smile knowing what we watched. And Justin, you made this point during the regular season, we're in the good times, and maybe those good times, as far as the last 3 years, you're kind of pivoting now to a new era. But the last 3 years have been unbelievably fun to watch. And a lot of that is due to Jim Harbaugh. I mean, just an excellent football coach, an excellent human being, very complicated individual, but where you stand with him, where he stands.
Complicated. That's a good way to put it. I don't know if I've heard
right.
That.
He's a walking contradiction, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the things that his views on certain, rights matters and political views. It just doesn't make any sense, and that's why we love him. That's what makes Jim Harbaugh special, man. He's not in the box.
He's probably the most unique individual of all time, and he did it. You know what? He won a national championship. Listen, for the next however long, 300. Some odd days, we're national champions. So, listen, nobody can take that away right now. Don't let anybody tell you different. Wear your shit proudly. Wear your hat, fly your flag, wear your sweatshirt. That's what we should do. I'm proud to be a Wolverine. That's for sure. Proud to be a Michigan fan. So, the Harbaugh era has ended. The Sherrone Moore era has started, and we're still on board, right? We're still Michigan fans, reigning national champs. Let's get back to work. So We'll be podcasting harder than ever. We'll be
drinking
blogging
harder than ever.
We'll be drinking. We'll be tweeting harder than ever.
We'll play our part.
I'll be shit posting harder than ever. I'll be doing my part. I'll be busting my tail.
Yeah. Nobody can say anything about our work ethic. So
that's true.
We're ready to get back to work. For you, Coach Moore. All right. For us, you can follow us at Blue by 90. Oh, listen, he's in our DMs.
He's interacted with us.
Yeah.
He is in our DMs.
It's our boy.
Shout out Coach Moore for just saying I love you. He said I love you he said I love you guys in our DMs the night of the Penn State game. And that's the height of his coaching career at the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much better.
There's a non-0% chance that we may be able to finesse something, right? There's a non-0% chance.
I'm with you 100%. So, all right, Sherrone Moore coming up soon. Maybe. We'll see. For us, you can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 Podcast on YouTube, and blueby90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.